Hey, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you for joining us today. My name is Jennifer Gill. I'm the Vice President of Product Marketing here at Skyhawk Security, and we are going to meet with Shlomi Czeisler and go over his experience as being a CISO and the impact that Skyhawk has had on his organization and his team and his general peace of mind as a CISO. So look at how we can review demonstrable risk in the cloud. So a quick agenda. So I will introduce Shlomi in just a minute. We'll go over Skyhawk Security, who we are as a company, some awards and recognition, and a day in the life of a CISO. And this is what Shlomi's day looks like. And then some of the key challenges that he's come across. And we'll go over the Skyhawk Synthesis Security Platform, how the CDR works, what the Purple team is and the benefits for that. And then how Shlomi's organization, which is IBEX Medical, has seen the benefits of the Purple team. And then we'll have time for questions at the end. So first, I'd like to introduce Shlomi Czeisler. He's the CISO at IBEX Medical Analytics. He has over 15 years of experience in cybersecurity and 10 years as the leader of the security organization as a CISO. He has several certifications as well, and I'm just really appreciative that Shlomi was able to take some time to speak with us today. So Shlomi, thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you for having me.
And my name is Jennifer Gill. I've been in product marketing, actually now I can say 25 years, which makes me feel like I can say I'm 807. But I have 5 years in product marketing in security specifically, and I've had leadership positions at Zerto, Commvault, and Pegasystems. Okay, so who is Skyhawk Security? So we are a cloud security platform. We deliver AI-based CDR in the Purple team. We protect the 3 major clouds as well as Kubernetes, and we protect global customers. So we have scaling from Fortune 100s to SMEs in heavily regulated verticals like financial services and healthcare. So for awards and recognition, so we won Cloud Security Innovator of the Year from the Cloud Security Awards, and that was for AI-based innovations in cloud security. We were also finalists in 4 categories. And then we recently got a Stellar Startup Award from CRN. So 2 years in a row for that one, so we're pretty proud about that. Okay, so what's it like to be Shlomi? So before Skyhawk, so their IBEX Medical is a smaller company, SME, and they were working through way too many alerts. They're constantly worried that they're only looking under the flashlight and that there's things that they're missing. And they're looking for that 25th hour of the day. And I think that probably applies to everyone on the call. There's just too many tasks and not a lot of time. And there's burnout. They're constantly chasing to keep ahead of a breach and review and tries multiple alerts. Shlomi, anything to add to this?
No, it's pretty accurate description. So unfortunately, the amount of tasks we have in information security isn't in a direct correlation to the size of the team or the company. So there's a lot of tasks, not a lot of people, and only 24 hours in the day to work them out.
Okay. And then a particular challenge was around vulnerabilities and misconfigurations. So cloud native tools give a lot of visibility, but they lack that tailor-made prioritization for insights. So there's all these vulnerabilities and misconfigurations, and they all look the same to the security team at IBEX, but not all of them really have the same impact. So trying to review and triage can take a lot of time. If you can't see it, you don't know it. And in clouds, it's easy to hide new infrastructure and deployments. So the Purple team is used as an aid to address these key issues. So Shlomi, can you talk a little bit about how to prioritize or what the challenge was with the prioritization?
Yeah, so basically, every one of us have all sort of tool to help us like get a visualization of our cloud. But the problem is that although they did give us some sort of visibility, it come in an end with a flood of alerts and information. So what I found was pretty much missing is that a tool that give me beyond the ability to see, but also to prioritize, to show me the risk and to give me a step-by-step logic why this specific risk and prioritization took place. And this is actually what I found using Skyhawk.
Great, awesome, okay. And this is the Skyhawk platform with the purple team. So how does it work? So we have an AI-based red team. So this maps out where all the crown jewel assets are in your cloud. It creates the paths to those crown jewel assets and then creates attack recipes. Those recipes are then executed against our cloud threat detection response, which is actually how Skyhawk got started. So we have 3 layers of AI between machine learning, looking at anomalies in terms of behavior, a lot of correlation of events, and then where the red team is able to get past that blue team, which is our cloud threat detection response, that's where we know there's a gap in terms of the security. And so from that, we can then prioritize what vulnerabilities and misconfigurations need to be fixed based on the value of the asset behind it. And we can also update the threat detection models. And it also uses things like permissions and CSPM and posture findings to help prioritize what needs to be fixed. So it's using that to update the the threat detections to make sure that you don't have an attack. So once it gets past that, there's, in addition to updating the posture, updating the threat detections, there are some things you're going to find in your environment that you can't address in terms of a CSPM finding. The cloud DevOps team might say, I understand that you're saying an asset is at risk, but if I change this, it's going to inhibit productivity of a team, and it's going to impact revenue. So with that, we can create an automated response. And you know it's going to work because you've already tested it in this purple team environment. It's actually a simulation twin, so it's all AI based, so it will not impact production. That's actually a question that I get quite a bit when we're at reInvent. They're like, if you create an attack and execute against my cloud, I'm going to get all these alerts. It's done in a simulation twin environment, so there'll be no impact to production. And that's basically the whole purple team. And once we have run it once and updated the findings that can be updated the threat detections that can be updated as well, and then created the automated response for the things that can't necessarily be updated, we run it again because we know that it's easy to change the cloud architecture and that you might need to address a new business requirement. So we're running this continuously to ensure that as your cloud architecture changes, so does your cloud security. So then how does the threat detection work? So we have many data sources that we're collecting from. So there's, logs, CloudTrail logs, telemetry, and we're pulling that from, AWS, or if you're using Azure or Google, et cetera, and we're correlating all that information. And then we enrich that data and use this to build baseline machine learning models. So this sets a baseline for behavior in your cloud. And these are very granular models. There can be models for things like, what's the typical API usage for this role? What does the network profile look for this EC2 instance? So there'll be many, many, many models within your environment used for threat detection to try to find the anomalies. So the models go further sort through the logs and telemetry, and they evaluate the information, start to tag some events. So, gee, this looks a little bit off. I'm going to kind of put that aside. This looks a little bit unusual, the time of day that activity is happening. So I'm going to mark that as well. And it starts to correlate all of these things. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, we have an attack sequence. And once an attack sequence reaches a specific risk threshold, then we promote it to an alert. So behind each of these bubbles is a lot of information. So for example, there was one instance where we saw a role for the first time executing API calls at an unusual time, and there were 70 of them. Instead of that being 70 events that your security team needs to figure out the relationship, for us, it was just part of a alert. So that gets sequenced. And so once Skyhawk raises an alert, you know that you need to pay attention to it, that it's very, very important. So here's a real customer example. So over 30 days, which had 30 days of security data, the logs, the telemetry, all that stuff. So it pulled in things like interesting events. So as I mentioned, failed API calls. So perhaps a threat actor is looking for what the limits are for their particular role that they've taken command of. So all that gets sorted down into anomalies. And then that gets further sorted into a sequence. And then we have suspected alerts and then an actual verified alert. So when you think about starting with 60,000 data points and events and trying to figure out which are the ones that are threatening your cloud and your business, that probably seems like a really overwhelming task, and it is. But with Skyhawk, we're able to correlate that information into 50 alerts. And addressing 50 alerts over a 30-day period probably doesn't seem nearly as scary as trying to figure out what 60,000 events means. So that's one of the benefits of Skyhawk, is that we're sorting through the data for you, figuring out the relationships, and then presenting to your organization, your SOC, hey, this is a real alert that you might need to take a look at. And then finally, we get to the purple team. So as I mentioned earlier, so the red team first identifies the crown jewel assets. It analyzes the least resistant paths to find how easily a threat actor can get to your most valuable business assets. It simulates the attack and then evaluates the defenses. And then it'll show how to respond to these threats. So it'll identify a posture gap, perhaps perform some remediation to update that posture, generate automated response and remediation recommendations. And then finally, it adapts the CDR. So this is tailored detection tuned to your customer's cloud infrastructure. And that's the threat detection models that I mentioned. So that's kind of the bread and butter of Skyhawk Security. One thing to mention is these models are updated every single day, because as your cloud architecture changes, you need your cloud security to update as well. So this was newly announced at reInvent. So one thing, it's a cloud native zero trust for cloud security. And I think this is probably something that you've seen is threat actors aren't breaking into your cloud, right? It's like if a burglar is breaking into your house, if they smashed a window or broke down the door, you would know this is not normal behavior. This is something bad that's happening. Unfortunately, that's not what's happening in the cloud, as they are getting credentials off the dark web in some other way through phishing, and they're logging into your cloud. So how can you figure out that someone is logged in seemingly a legitimate way, that they're actually a threat actor? So Skyhawk, with those machine learning models and looking at behaviors and events, will say, gee, I know this person logged in, but they're doing things that they've never done before. They're doing it at an unusual time. And a lot of these things just don't seem right. So with this new interactive CDR, we have application on your phone, and we can send an alert to the user that appears to be impeding on this cloud asset and say, hey, we've noticed this activity, seems unusual. Is this you? And if they say, yes, it's me, it's like, okay, then we'll allow it to continue. But Skyhawk in the background will still monitor this attack sequence to see what happens. If they say, yes, no, it's not me, then the SOC knows, okay, we need to act fast. This isn't Jennifer Gill doing this, it's a threat actor. So it ensures prompt intervention when an unusual behavior occurs. It makes things really efficient for the SOC, because now they have verified information. Yes, this is a threat. No, this is not a threat. And that's one of the things that's the toughest on security teams, is just trying to sort through things that appear threatening, but are really just a new employee maybe, or a new asset. So trying to figure that out is very challenging. And lastly, it's a seamless experience. So it's real-time user feedback with really minimum interruption. It's just a simple app and you click yes or no. Okay, so now we're back over to Shlomi, now that you know what the Cloud Threat Detection and Purple team is. So these are the IBEX benefits that Shlomi and his team have been able to see. So they save a lot of time with accurate alert prioritization. They use this for pen testing, and I'm going to turn it over to Shlomi in a second to kind of go into more detail there. And they're really able to be proactive and save hours in their day. So Shlomi, people don't want to hear from me about the security team. They want to hear from you. So please tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so basically I found that using Skyhawk helped me in three major aspects. The first one, it actually gave me a visibility of my cloud environment, and also act as both a vulnerability scanning tool and also help me map my attack surface with a tool that gave me an early warning system alert. So if something happened, I knew it in advance and was able to focus the amount of time I have in the day to fix the specific issue. So I can also react at the same time, but also plan ahead for the next sprint, quarter, month, whatever, to assess what I want to fix. And I know that what I'm fixing will help me in the long run because I saw in the purple team that it's the main attack vector for a few potential attacks. So this is the first aspect. The second one is using the purple team can allow me to create a sort of penetration testing, like a local team that familiarizes himself with my environment, and he can show me potential attack vectors that can help me then prioritize what I want to fix first. And the third one, which is the most important in my point of view, it helped me to become much more proactive. So by combining those two processes, I can actually plan tasks a lot of time ahead, and also reduce the amount of time for the other teams, for example, DevOps and IT. So we know that if I'm asking them to fix something, it has a benefit. So it's not just fixing something and then the amount of potential risk is very, very low. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that, Shlomi. And I think, so as I mentioned, I heard that in reInvent a lot too, is someone from the Cloud DevOps team came by our booth and they said, we have a leading CNAPP and they keep sending us all these things that need to be fixed. And I'm like, it's a sandbox on it. It's not important. And you just heard from Shlomi with Skyhawk, we can prove to the cloud dev team, hey, this does need to be fixed for these reasons. And then you can prove, the security team can prove to themselves that some of these things that you might ask the cloud DevOps team to address are not as important. So you're able to prioritize the time of the security team as well as the cloud DevOps team so that you're both can trust each other and have a more collaborative relationship in terms of reducing the overall business risk of your organization. So
Yeah, and it's very much the same as when you're working with the SSDLC process of starting to think what you want to fix in vulnerabilities in code and packages, because there are a lot of them, and the developers doesn't have much time if they have at all. And you want that each hour you get a developer to fix something, it's worth the time. So it's pretty much the same here.
yeah, great feedback, Shlomi. Thank you. Okay. So, and actually I did forget to mention a couple housekeeping items. So one is please use the chat feature to ask questions if you have any. We do have time for questions. And the second is, although I schedule this for an hour, it's probably going to be about 30 minutes. So I do that to make sure you have a little bit of time back in your day. Okay, so the last slides. So this is us just wrapping up. So we're going to be at RSA. If you're going to be there, we'd love to see you. We're going to be in booth 5173. So stop by. We'll have the ability to do a demo. We'll have a cool giveaway. You can chat with us. We'll show you a real live Purple Team demo. And if you want to get started, you can try Skyhawk for free for 30 days. We have a subscription. So feel free to do a screen grab to get the link there. And also we can do a Purple Team assessment. So we'll install the Purple Team. It takes less than an hour. And we start evaluating your environment. And we can show you the misconfigurations, threat detection models, things like that, that need to be updated to reduce the overall risk in your cloud. So you'll be able to see how many crown jewel assets are exposed. And then over time, you'll see that decrease with Skyhawk. In the first report, though, it'll obviously be what's at risk right now. So, and you can go to our website and contact us and sign up, and we'll be following up with you shortly. But that's also a way to try out Skyhawk. So I'm going to leave this up and see if we have any questions. Okay. So, Shlomi, you're not surprised these questions are for you and not for me. So the first one is, can you tell us how you've updated your security processes?
Yeah, so actually the Skyhawk came in a very good way because we are in the process of updating our ISO certification to the 2022 version, which one of the new controls is really regarding about cloud, and we have also we have new controls about threat alert monitoring. So it's really it came in a good way because we created a new process for actual monitoring threat hunting. And we incorporate the use of Skyhawk as part of this process, along with other tools, but this is the main tool. So we go over the alert Jennifer showed us, like in a few interval during the week, and then we record it, and we have also we gaining the monitoring process as well as the checkbox for the ISO, which is less important, but it's still important.
Yeah, great, awesome. Okay, and we hit on this a little bit already, but maybe if you have anything to add, what efficiencies does your organization see? So you mentioned you're able to save a couple hours a day. Is that?
Yeah, so I think that the most important benefit here is the developer's time. As a small company that's building a product, you need as much time as you can that the developer will invest in developing the product. So if I can show I don't know, the VP R&D or whatever, that instead of 5 hours a week, a developer can spend an hour and we still get the same benefit, it's a great ROI for the company. So I think that's the most important benefits here, because at the end of the day, security is great, compliance is great, everybody talking money.
Okay. And then how has prioritization impacted your team? And I think the person means prioritization of the alerts, I assume.
Basically, it helps us in two ways. The first one is improving our overall posture of the cloud. So we started fixing the most important issue that Skyhawk raised to us as regard to misconfigurations. For example, closing ports, like reviewing roles and stuff like that. And the second one is the constant monitoring. So those two are the main focus area.
Okay. And then what is the overall feeling of the team now compared to before Skyhawk?
It's funny when we say team, it's basically 1 to 2 people. So so yeah, team is a pretty broad term, but I think it's because it's a small team. What Skya gave us is much more time to do other stuff. So instead of us just going over logs and monitoring and alerts all day, we know we have this tool, Skyhawk, running also the purple team, and we can go. If we didn't get any alerts, we can go with our other tasks, and once we get alerts, we know we shift our focus to that, fix that, and then continue to work on our other issues, because all of us have compliance, audits, questionnaires from customers and whatnot. So we can dedicate all our time to monitoring, which is sad, but still, if we have tool to do it for us and just raise a flag, say to us, hey, this is a good time to jump in and fix something, we know we can stop everything, go to that, and then move forward.
Okay. So it looks like someone raised their hand. We don't have the ability to like open up microphones or anything like that, but there is a Q&A and I don't see any more open questions there. And also I put in the chat a message to please type in questions there. So give it like another 30 seconds. Because it looks like someone does want to ask a question. They're just not able to do it. Okay. Here we go. Chat wasn't working. Okay. Well, the Q&A is. So one question nobody asked, but I'll just offer it as to try to see if someone wants to ask another question is, how do we price? And it's by protected cloud asset. So it's, based on how many assets are in your cloud. So think of like S3 buckets, EC2 instances, that sort of thing. So here's a question again for me. So how many customers do we have? So because we are a subsidiary of Radware and a publicly traded company, I'm not able to answer any questions around financials, customers, things like that. Anything that could potentially give an edge in terms of financial reporting. So I'm sorry, I can't answer that question publicly. But if you wanted to reach out to us and schedule a sales meeting, that's something we can answer privately. Here we go. So in comparison with a CNAP that provides complete visibility, does Skyhawk offer similar visibility rather than just probing? So CNAPs offer visibility in terms of the posture, but they don't offer things like the prioritization that Shlomi mentioned. And also there's a real difference between, like I always look at toxic combination versus weaponized threats. So you hear CNAPs talk about toxic combinations. And it's like, we'll prioritize these fixes because there's toxic combinations and they can get to this cloud asset. But if you look at the end of the road of those toxic combinations, it's something like a sandbox or a test environment. But in the meantime, there can be one weaponized threat that leads to like your financial database or where your IP is or something like that. So that's really the benefit of Skyhawk over CNAPs, is that it doesn't just look at what the cloud architecture is. It looks at the cloud architecture and the value of the cloud asset and how at risk that cloud asset is. So it gives you just a little bit of a bump. So that's how we're able to do just a little bit more than a CNAP. Okay. So oops, is there one more? So are we a part of Radware? So Skyhawk was spun out of Radware in May of 22. You can see a press release on it on our website. So that's how we got started. Can you map to compliance frameworks? So yes, we have compliance reporting within the product. Shlomi, I saw you nod your head. I don't know if you have anything to add to that one.
No, yeah, they have all the major compliance frameworks, so you can see your cloud posture in comparison to the different frameworks, like the most common one, ISO, SOC, PCI, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Okay, so we're not a public company. We were spun out from Radware. So someone asked if we're a public company. So we closed Series A with Tiger Global as an investor, and that was May of 22. Okay. All right, well, we're just about at the 30-minute mark, and I was trying to make sure we didn't take up too much of Shlomi's time, although he's been great. So thank you everyone for joining today. Great questions. I'm glad we figured out the Q&A, whoever wasn't able to use the chat feature. So I'm glad the QA was working. Shlomi, thank you so much for your time and your help with the questions. And so thank you. I hope everyone has a great day.